Welcome everybody to the 90s First, a special episode today as we talk about Chadwick Boseman. This is a tribute episode to Chadwick Boseman, one of our favorite actors. Welcome Cicero back to the 90s First podcast. How you doing today, Cicero?
I am doing fantastic. In the immortal words of the Black Panther, I never freeze.
There you go. And
we all know that was a lie, though.
I mean that was a good impression, though. I'm not gonna front about that. It was pretty good. And as always, we have Jelly here. Jelly, how you doing this evening?
Yo, here for comic relief and nothing else. I'm doing great. And that's so people can laugh at me, not with me.
That's good. That's good. You know, yeah, we love laughing at you, Jelly. It's definitely one of my favorite pastimes. That's for sure. Let's see. Chows down.
That was an awesome image. Radio is the theater of the mind.
Yes.
Jelly just stuffed his face with the largest sushi roll one has ever seen.
It was too big.
Hey now,
I'm back.
Yeah,
it was a masterful use of the chopsticks, though. Sir.
Yes,
I'm a pro.
It was very good.
Chopsticks is those for.
I have never learned how to use one of those. So,
oh man, chopsticks—they're very easy to use, man. You got to learn.
Okay, I gotta
learn.
Gotta try.
I do this technique.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you're a lefty as well?
I am lefty. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, we're in our right mind. Congratulations.
No.
Yes.
No.
We are the best of them.
Yeah.
In the left mind.
We are smarter.
Oh, okay.
But we die sooner.
Oh.
Oof.
Oh.
Also, kind of factually accurate.
Yeah.
I'm not going to admit that one
I
so
think
easily.
I think it has something to do with having to deal with all these right-handers all the time.
The stress
And
we live with.
yeah, exactly. Having to explain things to them as if they were children.
Do you guys need me to leave? Do you guys need me to leave?
The stress.
Yo, how painful are regular scissors?
Oh, well, how painful are regular scissors? How inept are left-handed scissors?
Bro, terrible.
Yeah. Left-handed scissors.
I can't believe we're having this conversation right now.
I can't cut air with left-handed scissors.
No,
Like
no, sir.
if I go and take some left-handed scissors and I just go and snip like this, they will curl up like the feet of the Wicked Witch of the North. There's they just roll up into a ball.
And
there we go.
And here you have it.
Yeah.
When Cicero has a left-handed pair of scissors, he is an airbender.
Yes, that is correct.
Exactly how that works.
So,
Yeah.
back on our rails here.
Right.
I reached out to Cicero to help us out with this episode. Just mainly because Chadwick Boseman, as we all know, and the whole cast and crew of Black Panther really truly had an impact on the Black community, and we are honored, Cicero, to have you on this podcast to share and enlighten us with that kind of perspective and how Chadwick really just kind of was a beacon of light, kind of that character Black Panther for the Black community. Something that I was crying about this morning. I finished watching Black Panther and I was crying when at the end he starts the community buildings for the community there. He buys it to build that community up, and so I'm just super ecstatic that you are on this podcast with us. Thank you for joining once again.
Oh, well, I'm honored to be here, man. Anytime someone thinks of me and they're not cursing, It always, it always makes me feel good. So.
I would never do that to you, my friend. Definitely.
Oh, give it some time.
Okay, maybe next podcast.
But
we're family friendly, so we might have to cut that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really quickly, just before we dive in,
Fickies.
we want to continue the conversation on our social media accounts. So go ahead and hit up 90s First on Instagram as well as Twitter, as well as in our Discord if you want to join. We'll have the show notes down below. We'll have the link there to join the server. Not going to talk about the Patreon at all. This is about Chadwick, so let's move on. I want to read Chadwick's bio for us here, and just really quickly just share his acting chops here. So Chadwick Boseman was an American actor. He is known for his portrayal as T'Challa, Black Panther in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from 2016 to 2019, particularly in Black Panther in 2018, and for his starring roles as several pioneering Americans, Jackie Robinson in 42, James Brown in Get On Up, and Thurgood Marshall in Marshall. He also had choice parts in The Express, Draft Day, and Message from the King. Born in Anderson, South Carolina, he attended Howard University and studied at the Oxford Midsummer Program for Acting before moving to Los Angeles in 2008 to pursue his craft on the big screen. He died in 2020 after a 4-year bout with colon cancer, during which time he had starred in several of the biggest movies ever made. So guys, before we move on, we're going to have a dedicated segment to Black Panther, specifically his biggest, most iconic role, I would say. Let's talk about some of the other stuffs that bio mentioned. Cicero, let's start with you. What's your favorite non-Black Panther Chadwick movie?
So much to my shame, and in the spirit of honesty, I will say that the only one. So my favorite is 42, and the reason that 42 is my favorite is because I haven't seen all of Get On Up. I missed it in the theater. I've caught it, when it's on HBO or some service, but I've never watched it from beginning to end. And I haven't watched Marshall from beginning to end. So 42 was one that I definitely saw in the theater, and it was remarkable. So by default, 42 is my favorite non-Black Panther film that Chadwick starred in. I also not mentioned there was 21 Bridges, another film that film was released, I guess 6 months after, or 9 months after Black Panther was released, or Endgame was released. I guess trying to capitalize on Chadwick's fame. I still haven't seen that, but I've been waiting to see that one as well.
Gotcha.
And actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, we talked about, you talked about those other movies, but one movie that we didn't talk about besides 21 Bridges is The Five Bloods, which was the last film that we've seen him in.
Yeah.
There are a couple of films that haven't been released yet that he also starred in. But The Five Bloods, if you guys haven't seen it, was a phenomenal film. Very, very good. It's available on Netflix, released on Netflix.
Oh, nice.
And so it is available to watch. Spike Lee movie. And it is, great director, incredible cast. It was a really good film and also very informative. Spike is, if he's kind of a one-trick pony, from some respects, but he's mastered that trick. So and this film, you really get to see Spike kind of spread his wings, and Chadwick didn't seem like he was on set for a long period of time, but he definitely was a very pivotal part of that film and the story that they were telling.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. You said it's on Netflix?
It is on Netflix.
All right.
Five Bloods.
Duh, Five Bloods. Yeah, I did. This is just what was printed on IMDb. So
yes. Yeah,
just kind of copy and paste it. But yes, there is also another movie, and it will be his last movie. And it would be May Rainey's Black Bottom, which is an adaptation of August Wilson's acclaimed play. So
not May Rainey's, but Ma Rainey's.
Ma Rainey's. Okay, thank you for the correction.
Yeah. Great play from August Wilson, by the way. So
gotcha.
Really, really, really good. So hopefully, hopefully they were able to finish it. It's I think it is in post production now. So and another really phenomenal cast. A lot of Viola Davis, Glenn Turman. These are people that maybe not a lot of America knows, but a lot of America should know.
Yeah.
Which is something.
Viola Davis, come on now.
Right. Well, I mean at this point, right. Yeah. But I think that actually will be a running theme throughout the conversation that we have today is the popularity of Chadwick and the proclivity of the directors that were around him to surround him with other really, really good professional capital A actors that happen to be black. Allowed them also, his star power gave these other actors chances to show their wares to audiences that may not have necessarily seen them before.
Yeah, which is really cool. Chadwick kind of paved the way a little bit for that, which was really, really amazing. Sure. So, Jelly is no, I'll confess as well. I've only seen 42 and Get On Up. I definitely do want to check out Thurgood Marshall as well, or Marshall rather. He's plays Thurgood Marshall, but just him, Chadwick in those iconic roles of Jackie Robinson and James Brown, he just did them so well. He personified that character. He brought it back to life, and. Especially in 42, you just see his acting chops and his ability to just completely steal the show. Really, Jelly, what you got on those on a couple of those movies?
I own 42, so obviously I like that one. I do not own Get On Up, but it was great. I think as a character actor, portraying these famous figures, especially. He kind of kills it. Is Jackie Robinson, he killed it. Knocked out the park, pun intended. He nails it. As James Brown, same thing. Phenomenal job.
He stole the show.
He stole the show, exactly right.
I'll see my way out.
He does a great job.
No, stay, please.
I'm excited to watch... Marshall for the same reason. I think he'll do it again. I think he'll... do the same justice that he's done on Jackie Robinson and James Brown. He'll be able to take this real life person and personify him in a way on screen that is relatable to the audience watching it and believable to the audience watching it, and to the original people involved. I think that I know for a fact actually that in 42, when Jackie Robinson's wife saw him, she looked at him and said, "Oh my God, that's my husband." Not even thinking. Yeah.
Right.
That's what she saw when she looked at him. She saw her husband, which is amazing that you can say, "Oh, the wife of the person that I'm portraying in this movie looked at me and said, that's my Jackie."
Right.
Huge. So I want to see Marshall for that reason. Haven't seen it yet. The Five Bloods I'll check out, especially knowing it's free on Netflix. I'm just going to probably jump on tonight and watch it, throw it on. But yeah, most iconically, Black Panther is the role that I know him for, but I would put 42 as my favorite non-Black Panther role, possibly my favorite role that he's done, because I'm a pretty big baseball fan.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, 42 was just. I mean, I love those sports movies that just like depict just amazing stories, really. And Chadwick did it brilliantly. I finished Black Panther this morning because I was rewatching it. I've been rewatching all the Marvel films that he shows up in, and I kind of wanted to talk about just like his acting chops, his like ability to act. You like when you watch his face in Black Panther, and you watch kind of his mannerisms as an actor, he really shows so much deep emotion and deep care in every single scene, and you see it in his eyes. Like, you see his intentions, and you see how good of an actor he is. So with that being said, what are some of you could include Black Panther in this, what are some of the favorite scenes that you have of Chadwick that you can recall in your mind's eye right now? Let's go Jelly's way first here.
Okay, so I literally just watched a compilation of his scenes from the Avengers films, Civil War, and then I just rewatched Black Panther before this. And the first one, when he's up there with his father before his father dies.
Yeah.
You see again what you're saying, he emotes really well what he's feeling on his face.
Mm-hmm.
He's able to make you feel that just looking at him. You're like, oh, he's in pain. So that moment as his father's dying was huge. Later when he's after the Bucky chase and he kind of pulls his helmet off and he's just looking like he's caught, but you can tell totally not defeated at all. He's got that, you can look at him and see like, this is just a battle that I lost, but I'm still game. I'm still in it. Like,
mm-hmm.
It ain't over. Going on to Black Panther. I mean, the whole movie's his. That's his movie. And there's not a moment that he doesn't shine in it. I specifically want to talk about when he's beat by Killmonger, though.
Mm-hmm.
During the challenge, I think is huge, because of what it stands for, and because he knows that he has to do this not for his people and not for Wakanda, but for him. He knows the truth of who Killmonger is, and he knows that he can't turn it down. And I love that whole scene
mm-hmm.
of him coming in, Michael B. Jordan's character coming in and challenging him, and then him accepting, and then they kind of shift straight to it. Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger, I don't need weeks. I'm ready now. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they go out, and that fight scene was fantastic. Every bit of it right there is probably my favorite.
Yeah. There you go. Cicero, what are some of your favorite scenes with Chadwick and all of his filmography?
So I think 42 is something that I'll go back to, and only because you can feel the weight of, like, he was fully aware of the moment. Mm-hmm. He was fully aware of who he was and what he was doing in that particular moment, and what it meant to everyone. So I think there was a scene in the office with it's him and Harrison Ford, which, like, you get to do a scene with Harrison Ford.
Yeah. No big deal.
Right. But it's him and Harrison Ford, and they're talking about why he was the one that they had selected, why they selected Jackie to be the first one to integrate baseball. And it wasn't because of it wasn't because he was the best player, but he was the one who could handle it.
Yeah.
And it was, and you could see the realization in Jackie, in Chadwick, in that performance of like getting it, like, oh, I understand, like this is why I'm here. I do have, I owe it to everyone. I owe it to myself. I owe it to my family, and I owe it to the brothers that will come behind me to take this. And I'm not gonna like it, but I know I have to do it. And like you felt that. You felt that in the performance, and so it was incredible. To be honest, I've not seen him. There hasn't been a film that I've seen him in where I was like, oh, this guy's a hack. He's a ham,
no.
or hell, even a scene.
No.
Where I was like, oh, this guy, he just kind of he phoned that one in. He was a consummate professional.
Oh yeah.
You could basically close your eyes and put, drop your finger on a scene, and that scene could have been your answer for this question.
I agree with that.
Agree completely.
I think he gave everything to every scene, and I mean, after the fact, we kind of know why.
Right.
He was given everything he had every time he was on screen, because he didn't know how long he'd be able to give it. I think,
which is crazy.
My goodness,
yeah, I think that definitely showed through in every role that he took. And yeah, with James Brown, with Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall. I think I watched, I've only watched the trailer with Thurgood Marshall, but seeing him take on these people, and I think that by putting himself in their shoes, not only does he, like you said, take on the responsibility of what they were going through in that time, but I think he understood, playing these characters, playing these people, playing these roles, that it wasn't just a reflection on Jackie Robinson or Thurgood Marshall. It was a reflection on today too, because there's going to be kids who see him growing up, see him as any of these people, and they're going to choose to understand what he's doing for not only black kids and really everyone, but he's pushing that forward and showing them a level of dedication that maybe they've never seen anyone do in their life. Maybe this is the first time they're ever seeing someone give 150% and take on something that is so difficult, and then knock it out the park, do a killer job with it. And I think that probably didn't get lost on him as he took on these these roles, these characters that he played.
Yeah.
Right.
You knew, with the understanding that he passed away with colon cancer, and he was battling that for such a long time, you knew that part of every scene that he was in, he dedicated that percentage, that fight, in order to create memorable moments. He knew he was going to be memorable, and he's got to be one of the most iconic, just actors in general. Just talking about his screen presence and just the characters that he has played, and embodying those characters to the ability that he did. He's one of the best actors that I've personally ever watched. And I think one of the best scenes too, actually, that he exemplifies his acting chops the best was, it was swirling around Twitter in the past week, but in 42, he's on the baseball field, and he's going through the motions of battling with racism and everything, and he is the pioneer for black people to enter the MLB. And he's on the field, and he is biting his tongue so hard. and he is stopping himself from reacting to any of this. And you see him show that restraint that not a lot of people probably would have, but Jackie Robinson had to have that, and Chadwick just acted it perfectly.
It was the strength that they saw in him that they chose him for. They saw that strength in him.
He acted that perfectly. The very next thing that he does, though, is he goes into the dugout and he goes behind the scenes and he is cracking a bat in anger and just outraged with this. And like within that those couple scenes, you see the dynamic that he brings to each of the characters, and I think it's one of the best scenes that he's ever performed. Just seeing like the overall presence of what those scenes kind of meant, especially in the overall context of 42.
Well, and that comes from a real place. Obviously, that's probably I don't know anyone who knew Jackie Robinson or was around. My grandparents who were alive and in the Bronx when Jackie was in Brooklyn aren't around now to tell me stories about that kind of stuff. But having grown up as a black person in this country, and having had to deal with my own versions of both overt and covert racism throughout the course of a day or a life, or whatever the case may be, and knowing that my only recourse is to bite my tongue, literally and figuratively, and when you get home, that's when you can let that stuff out. And to have a shouting match, or to throw a thing, or to punch a pillow, or as unfortunate as it is, to imbibe carelessly, to find ways to get rid of that pain, to focus that anger. Those are that's something that is a very, very real thing, and it's powerful to see on the screen. But as a person of color, as a person who's experienced that, it was it was definitely something that I could identify with, and it was it's not necessarily catharsis for me, but it's it is a very recognizable pain. It is the pool cue to the groin, that a pain that we can all understand, but that was a pain that I'm sure many Black Americans, many Americans that have had to, or people in general who have had to hold their tongues for one reason or another, can definitely identify with.
Yeah,
the strength in that. I think there's a strength in that a lot of people are going to resonate with.
Right.
Because it's a real lived issue, not something it's not something that's gone away even since the 60s and the when it was all going on to begin. It's not something. It hasn't disappeared. It's not like it's vanished.
Right.
I think it's cool that he's played Jackie Robinson and got to showcase how it's done. Yeah, you can understand that it's going to get to you, but if you want to beat it, don't let them beat you. Don't let them see you defeated.
Right.
But also, you can let loose. Like, you don't have to hold that in forever, otherwise you blow up. I think that was cool to see. Yeah. Don't let them see that they're getting to you, but absolutely don't hold it in, because that's not good either.
And I'm pretty sure that was one of the lines from Harrison Ford's characters. Like, you can't let the audience, you can't let the fans see your anger, and that was. Right. That was why you had that scene where he had to blow up in the hallway from the dugout and figure it out, like you were saying, Cicero. Right. We cannot have a Chadwick Boseman tribute without just talking the pants off of. No, that's bad. Talking a lot about Black Panther. I was about to say the pants off him, but let's not do that.
The sandals off. What are those? So yeah, before we get into Black Panther, and we kind of lead into it, but over the weekend I was talking to my mom, and obviously we got the news. I guess it was Saturday night. Late Saturday night that he had died. And so I guess it was Sunday that I was talking to my mom, and we were talking about how Chadwick is gone, and the thing that I said to her was, this guy played all of our superheroes, both fictional and historical. So we talked about Jackie Robinson and how significant the portrayal was, but the person. Yeah. Jackie Robinson was a superhero. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Just the things that we were talking about. He had a superior superior power of restraint, as well as superior ability to play the sport. Evidenced by the fact that he won the Rookie of the Year, and I think was in the running for the MVP, and he wound up winning it, I think, a year or two later or something like that. But he could have won the Rookie of the Year and the MVP in his very first season of playing Major League Baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talking about that guy, talking about Thurgood Marshall, who was the first black person ever promoted to the U.S. Supreme Court. Imagine
huge
right obviously Brown versus Board of Ed, so when you think about the level of vitriol that was levied against Thurgood Marshall for trying to ask for equality or prove legally that schools should be integrated, and then the amount of pushback that there probably was, or definitely was, for him, for him holding the highest court in the land. That guy, I mean, that's a superhero. That's a superhero. And then James Brown, while he wasn't the first anything, he was a superstar, and was definitely not only a superstar musician, but he was able to channel his music and his rage and his angst and the angst of all reasonable-minded Americans, not just black Americans. In the late 60s and early 70s, and some of his songs, Say It Loud, is an anthem. It is a rallying cry. It is bold and audacious in coming out and saying, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." That's
legendary status.
Right, right. So and Chadwick was able to not only play those people, but embody those people. I think about completely out of left field. But I think about John Travolta, and there was a film in I think it was the late 90s called Primary Colors. I'm a big political junkie. And I don't know if you guys have seen this film, Primary Colors, but basically it was a fictional retelling of the Clintons, and Travolta played Bill Clinton without playing Bill Clinton, but he nailed it, and it was one of those roles where I was like, oh man, this guy was groomed to play this part, and I felt similarly in all of the different roles that, including Black Panther, a fictional character, much the same way that I felt like Robert Downey Jr. was built and made to play Tony Stark. Chadwick Boseman was built and made to play T'Challa, and he was also built and made to play Jackie Robinson, and he was built and made to play James Brown and Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah.
Like he really embodied those people in a way that only the greatest of us can.
Yeah, and the way that we need it.
Yeah.
We need to see it done like that, done in a way so well portrayed, so well done that we don't even question it.
Yeah.
No one's sitting here going, should they have cast someone else as Jackie Robinson or Thurgood Marshall or Black Panther? Like, and there's other people they could have had they chosen Michael B. Jordan instead of. Because that was my initial thought when they were doing all of it. Like, what if they had chosen him? Because I'm a huge Michael B. Jordan fan, and I think he would have done well, but I don't think he would have been T'Challa. I don't think he would have embodied the Black Panther the way that Chadwick Boseman did, and I think I think most people would agree with me in saying that yes, they picked the perfect person while there was a wide variety of people they could have chosen. I don't think anyone could have done it as well as Chadwick did.
I think
in any of these roles.
I think just going to Black Panther, I think just the emotion that even Black Panther the character needs to show, I think Chadwick just was as you said, Jelly, the perfect fit, because Chadwick was just he was able to show strategy in his eyes as well as sympathy at the same time, in certain scenes. Like it's just amazing how how he portrayed Black Panther. You guys have anything else? I don't want to stop any conversation.
Well, so I haven't watched Black Panther since the news hit. I've been looking at it, and I've stopped myself from watching it. And I think part of the reason that I stopped myself is that I don't know that I'd be able to get through the scene where he goes back to the ancestral plane to meet with his father the second time.
Oh, to confront him?
When he confronts
his father? Yeah, that's such a good scene. Powerful scene. It
is. It was a powerful scene in the film, but now looking back on it, knowing what we know, knowing what we know now, and allowing today to infect our ability to watch this, to inform what we're watching now. I don't know that I'd be able to make it through it without just completely breaking down.
Yeah, you just gotta eat that breakdown. It's worth it.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a good hearty cry right there.
Yeah,
you just gotta accept it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because it's so good. It's so good. And like I said, I just watched it. I'm just coming off of it, and I'm a crier anyways when it comes to movies.
So am I.
It got to me, but looking at him playing such a powerful, strong character all the while, and like my best friend passed away from cancer, so I understand what that toll is on the body. Yeah. The fact that he was able to push through that for 4 years battling colon cancer and portray such a strong and powerful individual all while showing, the vulnerability that he needs to of a man who just lost his father, of a man who's struggling to understand his place and the place of his country in the world. It's so good. He does such a good job, and I can't stress enough how well the casting choice was on this, and how well he performs the way it needs to be performed, the way it needs to be portrayed to us, the audience. He slays it. I mean, he just absolutely crushes it.
So another thing that needs to be pointed out, and I'm gonna shamelessly plug a couple of things while we're here. So I am, as I've mentioned before, if you guys have listened to any of the other 90s First podcasts, I'm a member of the Incomparable podcast network, and I was listening back to one of the things that we do is we will do reviews of films, and we did a review of the Black Panther, and what I didn't realize at the moment was that was my very first Incomparable episode was the nice. Black Panther. Yeah, the Black Panther.
What an episode to jump in on.
Yeah, exactly. And it was definitely great to sit back and listen to that. But like the thing that is so incredible about his performance, and one thing mentioning that we talked about in that particular podcast episode, is a great episode. Maybe we'll link it in the show notes or something like that. But
for sure,
we can do that.
All right, yeah. We spent a lot of time talking about everyone else except for Chadwick. And everyone else's performances except for Chadwick. And I think it's because it was, we didn't need to pour praise on him because we had seen him before, and all he did was further emphasize how great he was. But here's one thing that we kind of mentioned then, but I'm definitely going to mention now, is while watching the Black Panther, there is at no point do you look at T'Challa and think he is not the king.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
He is always regal. He is always regal.
Yeah, he carries himself differently than Killmonger at every point.
Right.
And everyone else in there.
Exactly. He is always regal. But the women in his life treat him like a little brother at every single turn. And that also felt natural. Yeah. So it was incredible that he was able to maintain the mantle of leadership and maintain the regality of being a king, but also have the vulnerability and give other people the space, especially the women, especially the Black women, the ability to shine brighter and above him. And he was able to show deference to them at every turn while still maintaining the fact that he was the king.
I think it reflects well the vision of equality that they share in Wakanda, in that culture, over what we're used to in America.
Yes.
Obviously, the women are held in huge esteem because they're the Dora, they're the protectors, they're the royal guard. Yes. They are the strongest people. They don't have a bunch of men guarding the king. No, they have the most powerful people, which are their women.
Women, yep.
And I think that goes the same for, was it Nakia, love interest?
Yes.
Yeah, Nakia, who didn't want to be a Dora, who wanted to go out and help the people that she could. Same thing, the strength that she showed when we first meet her in the beginning. I think that is reflected well. Something we could probably learn something from culture-wise.
I think Black Panther
just-
does that a lot.
Right.
Just
Just rub the
movie in
entire
general.
in this movie.
Right.
But yeah, I think the equality between men and women is reflected well, and it's not just it's not just his banter. It'd be with a friend. The same,
Yeah.
It's not
Right.
women or men. It's just the same type of
Right.
banter you would have with your closest, people in your life, your
Right.
family and friends.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think that you're right. They do a great job.
Well, in
So
how
much so
many
that it glossed right over. I didn't even notice.
in how many
those things.
cultures would there be a king, and that king's like little sister just ripped him a new one with like insults and
Right.
just like
Oh yeah.
just on
at every
turn,
point.
it's like
Yeah.
I totally agree with everything you guys are saying.
The
And-
first time she's on screen, she gives a little finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
And then apologizes immediately to her mom
yeah.
because she knows what's wrong. Gotta respect Queen Mother. Just saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't disrespect the mama. That's for sure. Black Panther. His first appearance was in Civil War. Let's not
Right.
dive too much into Civil War. Top 5 MCU film. But Black
Agreed.
Panther in there. He's he doesn't have a huge screen time. Obviously, it's more so highlighted on Cap and Iron Man as well.
He's secondary to the
Yeah,
main cast
but
for sure.
But
Still shines.
in his scenes, he still shines. This is our first instance of Black Panther, and his role is obviously pivotal in this film. He is the new king, basically of Wakanda at this point. He hasn't been given that.
He
crown
hasn't even been coronated yet.
He hasn't been
Right,
given that
right.
crown, but he has taken the Black Panther mantle on already. Semantics aside, whether that be like he just grabbed one of those flowers and just did it because he wanted to kill the Winter Soldier.
Well, no, he was he was already the Black Panther.
Yeah.
He was already the Black Panther, but he wasn't the king.
He wasn't the king. Okay.
Right. So he became the king after his dad was murdered, but the coronation happened in Black Panther the film.
Yes.
But he was already Black Panther the hero.
Okay.
Even in Civil War.
Yeah, and it was so cool seeing Black Panther in that very first scene just like jump on Winter Soldier and just just start fighting. It was an amazing scene to see, and it was one of those hype moments for me. What do you guys think of Black Panther in Civil War? Let's go Cicero's way first.
So the coolest thing about Black Panther was, obviously, selfishly, I was excited to see Black Panther be portrayed on screen, and they didn't mess it up. But the best part about that scene, the best part about all of that stuff going on was, right at the beginning, him and Black Widow are running out, and they're chasing somebody or doing something, and when he hits the ground, there's no sound.
No, silent.
There's nothing. It's silence. So here's this guy. He's muscular. He's jumping from like 2 stories up, and he hits the ground, and there is nothing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, this guy's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
He
was
like
jacked in that film, too.
right. Already, you know he's gonna be a problem. And then later on in that scene, the chase scene where Cap and Bucky are trying to get away, and he's just running in the highway. It's this chase scene, and he's running after them after the car, and he's gaining on them. So they definitely, like you said, he was a secondary primary character in that film because his role was definitely pivotal in that film. And ironically enough, I think if we counted it by the minutes, I think there was more screen time for the Black Panther in Civil War than there was for Black Panther and Black Panther. The suit.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
so
yeah.
T'Challa was in Black Panther a lot.
Yeah, as
But
T'Challa.
Black Panther himself, the suit wasn't in Black Panther all that much, I don't think.
Yeah,
So
not really.
like
The first beginning scene, the casino
Right.
scene, and then
right.
the battle at the
And then
end.
the battle in the third act, and that was it. And I think he was in more of the Civil War than he was in his own film. So that was also pretty cool. But what that did was it gave us more time with Chadwick, with T'Challa, with
Yes.
building relationships, with getting all of those things out, building that character. So what did you like of T'Challa or Black Panther in Civil War?
So, what really stands out is that final scene of the pretty much the movie with him and Zemo on the mountain.
Right.
And T'Challa, Black Panther ends up stopping him from killing himself. Is like the king that he's gonna be. Is like, no, you need to serve your time. You're not gonna just get out that easy, in a sense. But what was really cool about that scene is just kind of his change of mentality, and you kind of get that throughout Black Panther as well, specifically, but like his change of mentality, just like kind of figuring out that there could be a different thing happening, a different thing going on here, and you kind of gotta investigate. You gotta kind of look into it a little bit further, and just him also showing that sympathy towards Zemo, despite him being the bad guy. I think it was as you said about him in Black Panther. It was his regal moment in Civil War, in my opinion. Just his ending scene with Zemo, and then you can't get better than just like T'Challa fighting, even like Hawkeye. Like some of those fight scenes in general, just like even though he's fighting quote unquote this like B tier hero in Hawkeye, it's just like these guys are going toe to toe. Black Panther, he's got those kicks. He's got moves that I think I would need to stretch at least 18 minutes for in order to even attempt. It's just cool seeing that type of character on the screen. Somebody who has that type of fighting style, because all you've seen, up until that point in the MCU, you haven't really seen anything in the movie side, but rather, kind of like in the Daredevil, the Netflix, like just like that, fluid movement and stuff like that. And then obviously you have Spider-Man, and that was the thing with Civil War, is that Spider-Man was a super hype moment, but it was cool that Black Panther was a highlight throughout the whole film.
Right.
Got anything else?
If I digress, allow me to digress for a second. My one complaint about Civil War was that they had spoiled the Spider-Man reveal in the trailers, right? And imagine if that airport scene happened and he calls out Underoos, and here comes Spider-Man, and the first time you realize it's happening is right then and there. It would have destroyed theaters. It would have.
Oh my goodness.
It would have been. That would have been fantastic.
They would have had to change that Aunt May scene though. With.
Oh.
Like the introduction
was
of
that before?
Peter Parker.
Was that before or after?
It was before. So. I maybe. I mean, maybe they could have been like, Iron Man. I got a secret weapon.
Right.
Who knows? But yeah, that would have floored the theater.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, talking about flooring the theater, a couple of things, a couple of Chadwick things that are good to mention if people haven't heard that, but or heard about these things. But one of them is that the famous the last line from Killmonger in the film. Bury me, throw me in the water with my ancestors, who knew that it would be better to die free than to live in bondage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That line came from Chadwick. There was a different line, and Chadwick suggested that line, and that's the line that wound up in the film. Powerful. Yeah. It's an incredible line. An incredible line, there are so many things that were great about Black Panther, and one of the things that was great about Black Panther, besides its cultural relevance and besides, one of the things that I said, spoiling a little for a podcast that nobody's going to listen to, that I recorded 4 years ago, but or 2 years ago, but one of the things that I said about Black Panther was it was the first black movie. It was the first movie with a majority black cast that was dramatic, action dramatic, non-comedy, where I walked out of the theater and just felt hope. And usually I'll walk out of a theater, we talk about any of his other films, any of Chadwick's other films, 42, Marshall, Get On Up. Those films, I felt hope, but I also felt a tinge of rage. There was always some conflict. There was always some other negative thing, and felt a little dismayed even, because a lot of the things that they were fighting about or fighting for are things that, still persist today. Maybe not to the magnitude that they did then, but still very much persist. Yeah. So that hope is always sullied by some other emotion that brings it down. Black Panther was the very first film in my entire life where I could look at a black cast, and it wasn't for laughs, and I could sit back and say, we did that. That is us. That is me. Mm-hmm. And could just could walk out with my head held high and my chest sticking out. That was definitely a powerful emotion for me. But also, another reason that Black Panther really sticks out for me is Killmonger is one of the greatest villains in cinema history, not just MCU history, not just of 2018, not just of the last 10 years. This is a guy where, and much like Civil War, where if you look at who the villain was in Civil War, it was, obviously there was Zemo, but was it Tony? Was it Cap? Whose team were you on? Killmonger as a villain was so relatable.
His righteous values.
Right. His rationale and his MO for doing what he was doing was so relatable to people, to me, to folks that have been historically oppressed.
Yeah.
To you see him and you don't want to root against him, because there's so much of what he is saying, there's so much of what he is doing that you immediately identify with, and you understand the rationale that brought him to that point.
Yeah.
And you don't it's one of those things where you say, well, I can see how that's a good thing, and like to be able to have the villain not necessarily be the heavy, and then again bringing it back to Chadwick and bringing it back to Black Panther to have at the end of that film to have the hero basically fulfill the wishes of the villain.
Yeah.
By the time we get to the end of the film, shows how right he was.
He had righteous ideas. Just
right.
not
right.
the best
Just,
motives and way to get things done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
exactly. And
I couldn't agree more, Cicero. I think that's that's why I hold Killmonger at such a high level of just villain in the MCU and as you said, in all of cinema history. But it was a villain that, as you said, it seemed that his motives were completely justified. And what was amazing and what was amazing about the movie in general, and it's not just about the cultural significance that it had on the Black community in America, but it was rather it also hit home for me personally, because now it turned into not just a superhero movie, but a commentary on how the Black community potentially feels. Not just potentially, but are feeling that, hey, if I just had these weapons, if I just had these abilities to fight back, would this be a different story? And I think what's so amazing about Black Panther's character development within this film is that he sees that Killmonger is right, and then he finds a way for Wakanda to not be silent anymore, but he does it in a peaceful and amazing, uplifting,
he does it like a king,
community building way, and that is what I will always regard Black Panther as a classic. And we're talking. This was 2 years ago, but this is a classic because of its impact. It has a fantastic story. It has fantastic acting, but its impact on culture in general, it's second to none. It's second to none almost. Jelly, you were about to say something.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jelly. I'm going to steal this by saying another little anecdote. So late February 2018, one of my good friends and a bunch of his friends, all Black men, went to Dubai for a week. And, they were living it up and they were having a great time. And they, throughout the course of their week there, ran into other Black people, not Black Americans, but, Black people from all over the diaspora.
Yeah.
So, from the continent of Africa, from all over the place. Each one of those people, when they saw my friend and his friends, greeted them with the Wakanda salute. Wakanda forever. Yeah. So nice. We don't speak the same language, but we do speak that language, and that language was pride. And so not only did it resonate with Black Americans in a very, very significant way, and Americans at large, if Mike, you're any indication, but it also resonated with black people all around the world in a way that I don't think any film ever really has. Where collectively we all said we are seen, and this is where we want to be, and this is where we could have been were it not for colonialism.
Jelly, you were going to say something on Black Panther?
No, I'm just really just gonna agree with you guys. That's what I was gonna do. It's Cicero. You said he does it like a king, and it just made me think he does it like a king in more ways than one. He treated it like Martin Luther King would have. He went He went about it a way that didn't involve violence, but did involve being seen and heard at every step of the way, and making sure that he was, on the pulpit, out in front, and was the focus of this movement. So he took that opportunity that both Njobu, who was Killmonger's father, and him put forward of, we see injustice in society and we know that there is a means to help them. Mm-hmm. And he took that and he put it into action by buying that block up, and then making the change, being the change, which, as I'm saying that, reminds me of will.i.am from Black Eyed Peas. Did the same thing in his community. He purchased like an entire block and has been working for years now, maybe decades, at doing the same thing. I think that's huge and so cool. And but yeah, just reminded me, you said a king, and it did that. It reminded me, like a king, a true king, a Martin Luther King, a king of Wakanda. They have the right idea, and I think people see that, and I think we just need to keep moving it forward. Just keep walking that forward until we're on, until we're there, until we've made it. And I'm white, so I don't get to be the one that says when we've made it, because I can't say what people of color experience. But once they start saying we've made it, I can't wait for that. That's going to be huge.
Right
on.
I'm with you on that, Jolie.
Right on.
Man, just an amazing conversation. Thank you once again, Cicero, for just your perspective on this. It's amazing to have you here. We're honored.
Thank you. So I do have a coda if we can. So we spent a lot of time talking about Black Panther, and obviously, for most people that is going to be the thing that resonates when you think about Chadwick Boseman and you think about his life and his legacy. That is going to be the thing that people think about and first. But as I mentioned before, he was a superhero. He played our superheroes, both historic and fictional. But he himself was a superhero.
Yeah, good family man, not strong father.
Not only was he a phenomenal at his craft, but he was a phenomenal human being, and he fought and he suffered and died without anyone knowing anything.
Yeah.
He, at no point did he come out and say, there was a moment about a year ago where there was a picture of him and he was very gaunt. And people had a lot of things to say, and Twitter was joking, and and there's all of those other stuff, and people jokingly said he looked sick. Well, he was sick,
very sick, yeah.
But and he heard the noise and never said anything, and at no point did he let anybody know, because he didn't want that to be the conversation. He didn't want the conversation to be how brave he was. And that he is doing all of this in spite of, and he didn't want the first thing that anybody said to him when they talked to him in interviews, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
He just, in a way, Chadwick Boseman was a superhero and never gave away his secret identity.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I've got to say, as a person who is 6 months his senior, a person whose ancestry is also from South Carolina. Our bloodlines may have come from the same plantation, and as someone who also attended an HBCU. He is a hero to me and I say Wakanda forever.
Dang.
Do we just end it there? I mean, Cicero, I don't think you realized how good of an ending that was.
Yes.
I'm just gonna Wakanda forever.
Right. Wakanda forever.
So good. Oh man. Yeah, this was good, dudes.
Yes. Thank you, everybody who stood around and listened to us chatting about Chadwick.
Probably sat around.
Yeah, we'll sat around, listened, whatever. I think what's fitting is that Black Panther himself would say in Civil War, in my culture, death is not the end, and I would say that in our hearts, in our mind's eye, and in our culture now, Chadwick Boseman, you will forever be remembered. This is not the end of your legacy, and it's not just because of Black Panther, but of, as what Cicero said, the strength that he had to fight in order to give us those memorable moments. I think that's really what his legacy boils down to. He was a true Black Panther with his strength battling for the past 4 years. And we will certainly miss him in the movie industry. We'll certainly miss his smiling face in every other film that we look at him. You guys, thank you so much for joining me with this conversation. It was brilliant. Loved it. Loved every second of it. You guys, let's continue the conversation. Let's continue, the fight to keep Boseman's name just all over social. Go ahead and send us some tweets or anything when you hear this special episode. We'd love to continue the conversation. Cicero, please, where can we follow you on the tweeters? What are you doing recently that you would like to plug? Please do so, my friend.
So I am at Stubby Stan on all your social media platforms. Check me out there. As I said before, you can hear me on the Incomparable Podcast Network. You can go to @The Incomparable on Twitter. Check out what we're doing, and you can if you look up The Incomparable Black Panther, you'll be able to find the episode where we talked about this film, Black Panther. And also, I hosted my very first hosting job on The Incomparable was hosting the episode of our review of The Five Bloods.
Oh, there you go.
So also starring Chadwick Boseman. So if you guys want to listen to that was definitely more recently than our review of the Black Panther. But you can definitely check that out and a bunch of other stuff. And if you guys are Star Trek fans, you can always listen to me on the Discovery Debrief podcast, where we are talking about right now Lower Decks. So, and check out my feed for all sorts of other weird things that I'll be doing real soon.
We like weird things. Jill, You got anything to plug?
Never.
Okay.
Find me here. Hit me up.
You find Jelly at the 90s first. Well,
that's where I reside.
That's where you reside. Well, awesome. It's good to have you once again on the podcast, Cicero. Jelly's showing off your podcast there on his
just
nice.
To the people,
fancy 4K phone.
Thank you very much, sir.
He hooks up to his 4K doorbell.
Yeah.
All right. My name's Mike. This is the 90s First. Thank you, Chadwick. We love your legacy, and we hope that this podcast finds you well. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.